Jacqueline Wilson's Cliffhanger, illustrated by Sharratt. Chapter 2. Dear Mum and Dad, I'm having a truly terrible time. Why won't you come and take me home? With love from Tim. Chapter 2. That first evening at the Adventure Centre was awful. Awful. Well, tea was okay. We had beef burgers and chips and peas. There was tomato sauce on the table. Biscuits and I messed about pretending the tomato sauce was blood. The pretend started to get a bit real and I stared at the scarlet pool all over my plate and decided I wasn't really hungry anymore. It didn't matter though. Biscuits ate my tea as well as his own. We sat with Giles. Kelly came and squashed in beside us too. She said hi to me. Giles thought she was my girlfriend. Jake came and talked to us at tea. Jake was our special helper. He was tall and sporty and good looking. All the girls were crazy about him because he looked like some pop star. I thought he might be a bit bossy and big-headed, but he talked to me just like a friend. I didn't want to be in any stupid team, but if I had to be in a team, then I was very glad it was Jake's team. The Tigers. Grrr. That's the Tiger Grand Roar. There were 6 of us, Giles and Biscuits and me and Kelly and Laura and Leslie. They were the girls in Kelly's bedroom. She said they weren't much fun. They just went whisper, whisper, giggle, giggle. They left Kelly out of things, but she didn't care. Kelly's the sort of girl who doesn't care about anything. She doesn't even mind if people think her a baby. She had this little troll doll with purple hair. Kelly made the troll talk in a tiny voice. I often make Water Bear talk to me. His voice is quite growly, but friendly. I wished I had Water Bear with me. At the Adventure Centre, the Tigers had to help clear up after tea. We were on kitchen duties. We all moaned because we got lumbered. The lions didn't have to clear up, or the panthers, or the cheetahs. Kelly said she wanted to be a cheetah, and then she could cheat. Biscuit said he wanted to be a lion, and then he could lie. So I said I wanted to be a panther, so I could pant, and I made funny panting noises. Biscuits laughed and started panting too. So did Kelly, and even Giles joined in. Laura and Leslie thought we'd all gone nuts. I started to wonder if it might be fun to be on an adventure holiday, but then we all had to go outside and play these terrible games. I hate games at school. I hate games in the garden at home. I hate games on the beach on holiday. I knew I would hate games here. We were all made up with face paints to look like tigers, orange with black stripes, or lions, yellow, or panthers, black, or cheetahs, beige with black spots. Laura and Leslie mucked about with their face paints, making themselves look like grown-up ladies. Giles made a fuss at first, saying he didn't want his face painted because it was stupid and sissy. I didn't mind having my face painted, though it tickled a bit, but I minded terribly when Jake and Sally and the others started setting up posts and handing out balls and bats. It was a new game, triangles, a bit like rounders. We play rounders at school. I hate it. I'm useless. I can't catch, I said privately to Biscuits. I can't flip and run, said Biscuits. I can run, I can catch, said Kelly. She wanted to be the bowler, and so did Giles, so there was an argument. Jake said he was the bowler. They had to be fielders, and he picked Laura and Leslie and me to man the posts. Laura and Leslie giggled. Woman the post, they said. I didn't say anything at all at first. I was too worried, especially when Jake told me to be first post. I swallowed hard. Excuse me, Jake, I squeaked. Yes, Tim. I don't want to be first post. Why is that, eh? Said Jake. I can't catch, I explained. Well, just do your best, said Jake. Giles was sighing and looking impatient. I'd better be first post, he said. No, we'll give Tim a go, said Jake. We're going to keep changing around anyway. Come on, let's get cracking. Jake bowled to the first lion batter. They gave it a tap and then started running. Laura grabbed the ball and threw it to me. Hey, Tim, catch, she shouted. I tried. I really tried. Dad always yells at me to watch the ball. I watched it go sailing past my cupped hand. He's missed it, Giles yelled. Tim, said Laura. Tim, said Leslie. Tim, said Kelly. Never mind, Tim, said Jake. Next time, eh? I hoped and hoped and hoped I might do it better next time. I didn't. Or the next time. Or the next. Or the next. Or the next. It was so awful. No one else was as useless as me. Biscuits couldn't run very fast at all, but he was good at catching, and he could hit hard too. I couldn't hit hard when it was our turn to bat. I couldn't hit the ball at all. I was the worst at games. They all started shouting at me, teasing me, saying stuff. When the games were over at last, I ran into the centre and had a bit of a cry by myself, locked in the toilets. Then I remembered the phone in the hall. I didn't have any change on me, but I reversed the charges. I got through to Mum. I started telling her how awful it was, and I asked her to come right that minute. She said she would, but then Dad started talking too. He kept asking me why it was all so awful. So I said about them all shouting at me, and Dad said I was making a fuss about nothing. I said I still wanted them to come and get me like they promised, but you can't always trust your parents, especially your dad. He said I should see how I felt tomorrow. He wasn't going to come and fetch me tonight, no matter what. But you said you'd come and get me if I didn't like it, I said. I don't want to see how I feel tomorrow. It's not fair. I didn't want to come here in the first place. I was in the middle of saying all this and a bit more when Biscuits came along the hall and sort of hovered. So I sniffed a lot and said I'd phone again tomorrow. You okay? Said Biscuits as I put the phone down. I nodded and blew my nose. Biscuits looked bigger than ever, his sweatshirt straining. He saw me staring. Want to see what I've got? He said, patting his much vaster tummy. He suddenly gave a birth to a big tin of golden syrup. I laughed even though I was still a bit sniffly. Biscuits prized the lid open and stuck in his finger. He licked appreciatively. Yum, yum, yum. Here, he held out the tin. You can share if you'd like. We were very sticky indeed by bedtime. I wish we didn't have to share a room with Giles. It would have been great if it had just been Biscuits and me, but Giles kept going on and on about how hopeless we were at games and how mega great he was at absolutely everything. He insisted on demonstrating too, especially his judo. He had me in this arm lock that was horribly painful, but Biscuits started waddling around the bedroom in his underpants, flexing his muscles. I do sumo wrestling, right? He said, beating his chest. So you'd better watch your step, Piles. You look more like a gorilla than a wrestler, said Giles, but he let go of me. Biscuit did a wondrous gorilla impersonation, making a very loud gorilla noises. I did a gorilla impression too. Giles joined in. We were all three strutting about and thumping our chests, bellowing, when Jake came barging into the bedroom. Hey, calm down, you lot. You're like a lot of monkeys at a zoo, said Jake. Exactly, I said. Hum, me want banana, said Biscuit, still being a gorilla. You're going to explode one day, Biscuit, said Jake. Come on then, in bed, you lot. What are we going to do tomorrow, Jake? Giles asked. We're going to do a bit of a climb and then it's abseiling, said Jake. Great, said Giles, jumping up and down. Not so great, said Biscuit, pretending to pass out onto his bed. Utterly ungreat, I said. My heart has started thumping again. Jake saw my face. It is great, fellows, really, said Jake. Come on, lie down now. Just got to get something, said Giles, hurrying over onto his bed. He dug deep and came out with a teddy bear. Giles's bear had a stitched nose stuck right up in the air and a sneering mouth. Old Teddy, eh, said Jake. He's not any old Teddy. He's Sir Algernon Puddypot, said Giles. Well, settle down with this ship then, said Jake. Biscuits was rooting around in his bag now. Biscuits, no more food, do you hear? I'm just getting dog hog, said Biscuits. Who? Said Jake. Biscuits produced a long browny pink knitted creature with floppy limbs and a curly tail. Biscuits made it prance about his bed. We can't work out if he's a dog or a pig. My granny knitted him and she's not very good at knitting actually, said Jake. Jay looked at me. Have you got your teddy, Tim? I just shook my head. I couldn't say a thing. I got into bed and pulled the sheets over my head. My arms felt so empty without water, and no one would have laughed at me or called me a baby for having a cuddly toy. I wanted my water bear so much. I don't know when I went to sleep. I kept waking up in the night. And then it was suddenly day, and Jake was in our bedroom again, telling us to rise and shine. We were going up in the hills straight after breakfast. Abseiling.